What's up everybody, this is Ryan Swag here, and this is my weighted Fusion Cup in the Post-Empoleon meta. So location I hit up this time was at the Waupun Public Library. I've always passed up Waupun because it's a little bit out of the way and I have like 4 other cups going on in my local area. However, this time around Oshkosh shut down. Yeah, not enough turnout, not enough people going to the Oshkosh Cup, and the organizer is getting kind of stressed out trying to run it, trying to get people to come. So they closed up shop this month. And then the other 3 cups in my area all fell on the same exact weekend, which was my work weekend. And if you don't know, Swagman works 12-hour shifts, so back to back 12-hour shifts. And I didn't realize this until it was a little bit too late. So Waupun was my only hope, and I actually had a blast there. The atmosphere is really nice. The organizer puts in a lot of work to make sure everybody's having a good time. And if you live within the Waupun area, like 2.5 hour drive to Waupun, I definitely suggest checking it out if you're looking for a new tournament scene to hit up. Really good place. I hope to go next month. At any rate, let's get into my team. So first one I'm going to talk about is Empoleon. This is the post-Empoleon meta. I feel like Empoleon sets the tone for the Fusion Cup meta at this point, and if you aren't using Empoleon, you better have like a galaxy brain, massive idea to not use Empoleon. It's just really good. Next, I have Froslass. Froslass is just really good. I'm going to say all my Pokemon are good, but Froslass is definitely extra good. It's the ultimate save swap in this meta. Zionic did a video just detailing how busted this Pokemon is, and yeah, Froslass, amazing. Definitely had to have it. Next Pokemon I have here is Whiscash, the OG of the Fusion Cup meta. Now I know people have been replacing Whiscash with Swampert or Poliwrath, but I decided to go with Whiscash because I'm comfortable with Whiscash, I'm familiar with the matchups, I know how to finesse with Whiscash, and I also appreciate that Whiscash has a very solid matchup against Empoleon. I feel safe using Whiscash against Empoleon, so Whiscash staying on the team. But for you guys out there, might want to use Poliwrath instead. Very similar, arguably better. I actually don't have a Poliwrath built yet, so just also that. Now, cool thing about these 3 Pokemon is they kind of form a really nice core for my 6. They all basically do the same idea, like this very similar jobs, but slightly different. And because of that, when I approach my opponent's 6, I can pick and choose who I want to use for that job, giving me a lot of flexibility for those jobs. And while all 3 of them don't work well together because they have a lot of shared weaknesses, the fact that they have ever so slightly different weaknesses allows them to work out super well for my team when approaching opponents, so I really like that. As far as shared weaknesses go, they're all pretty weak to Grass-type Pokemon, more or less, and for that reason I decided to go with Venusaur, the Grass-type that beats other Grass-type Pokemon. Venusaur's got other swag going for it too, Charmers if they show up. I don't have to worry about them, and I feel like my team is super strong against Bronzong, so even if there is a Bronzong, I can handle that, so I really appreciate Venusaur on my team. There's also the big threat of fighting-type Pokemon, which are picking up steam because Empoleon is now the central threat of the meta, and Venusaur does really good against the fighting-type Pokemon too, including Heracross. Yeah, PvPoke does the matchup a little bit wrong. It's following an algorithm. It's not a human being. Humans can get the finesse in, and I felt I could get the finesse in with the Venusaur. Next Pokemon on my team is the Altaria, and you know, pretty simple. Post-Empoleon meta, Altaria better than Noctowl. Noctowl just gets schooled by Empoleon, Altaria does not. And on top of that, I have the Breakpoint Altaria, so Whiscashes and Pokemon that are thrifting on the defense IVs are going to have to watch out for my Altaria. And then for my final pick, I needed an anti-grass Pokemon, and I was kind of busting my brain on it. I had Heracross, Alola Marowak, and Escavalier as options. I decided to go with Escavalier because Alola Marowak has a relatively shaky Empoleon matchup. If you land the Shadow Ball, you can win. I don't want my matches to come down to that. And then as far as Heracross goes, I did not want to lose to Charmers. Yeah, my team isn't exactly stacked against Charmers. I got 2 counters to Charm, and yeah, I did not want to lose to Charm. So Escavalier ended up making the slot. Let's get into my matchups. Before we begin, I'd like to give a shout out to Pablo Pang here on Twitter. He made a nice tool to generate the Pokemon that you're going to see populated on the right here for each of our respective teams. Organizing those graphics is pretty annoying. So if you want to do little team recaps yourself, like you record your battles, you want to spice it up a little bit with these Pokemon on the side, then definitely check out this Pokemon team generator. Link in the description to that. So my first opponent here is Dinah Marie 11. Now overall her team is pretty weak to my Froslass, so Froslass is a for sure pick in every single set, but there are some issues. Victory Bell's Razor Leaf could potentially wear down my Froslass, Heracross could potentially beat Froslass, and Alola Marowak and Whiscash both also threaten my Froslass, so I don't really like that. One common answer to all this is to use my Altaria, but they have Alolan Sandslash, the one thing that you don't want to touch your Altaria. So this is a little problematic of a team for me because it kind of feels like the matchups could become very rock, paper, scissors if things go the wrong way. So definitely a pretty threatening team, and I decided to start out with Altaria, Empoleon, and Froslass, hoping that Alolan Sandslash does not touch my Altaria. And starting out, I got the lead. Well, the lead I wanted. My Altaria is not touching their Alolan Sandslash. I decided to swap over to my Froslass to take out the Altaria here. Altaria does not want to deal with that, and they switch into their Heracross. Now, I haven't studied this particular matchup. I'm pretty sure that Froslass has the advantage, but close combat is something I do not want to get touched by, so I decided to shield it and maintain my advantage with Froslass. They bring in the Victory Bell, which is the Bell of Doom, taking down my Froslass as expected. That's why I'm afraid of that thing. And I bring back in my Altaria to take it down. I just farm it up, so I got charge moves for the final Pokemon. And yeah, Altaria cannot deal with my Altaria at this point, and I take the W. Now going into the next fight, I stick with the same team under the notion that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Unfortunately, this time around, they do catch me with the Alolan Sandslash, so that is super bad news for me. I switch into the Empoleon, hoping maybe they'll keep it in because of Bulldoze. They don't. They bring in the Victory Bell, which is even worse for me here. Definitely not good. Maybe I should have swapped in Froslass, but you know, I'm worried that the Razor Leaf will not be kind to me there. At any rate, I bring in the Altaria back in to finish off the Victory Bell there. They bring in the Sandslash. I swap into the Froslass. They end up wasting an Ice Punch on the Froslass, but they do swap out into the Whiscash. Now I get the excellent... Oh, of course I got the excellent there. Okay, I get hit by the Mud Bomb, thinking that I may be able to beat the Alolan Sandslash if I maintain a shield on my Altaria, and you know, Whiscash is already a really dicey matchup for me, so I take it out. I got the one shield. They end up beating me with fast moves though, which is something I did not expect, putting me in a super compromising position here. I whip out the Sky Attack. It's a great Sky Attack, not an excellent Sky Attack, and they take me out with a sliver of HP left. The one thing I did not want to happen. So being spooked from the Alolan Sandslash catching me like that, I decided to change up my lead to the Froslass. That way, Alolan Sandslash, you think you can lead twice? Psych, it's Froslass. So hopefully that would tip the scales for me in this particular fight. I start out, and I caught them. Alolan Sandslash. You thought you were going to get my Altaria again? Well, you ain't. I whip out the Avalanche, hoping to bait them here, and they totally call my bluff. The double resistance to ice coming in and blocking all that damage. Then they swap to the Victory Bell. I instinctively just throw my charge move right away like a dope, but then I swap to my Altaria to, you know, just farm it down. I mean, what are you going to do to me, man? Then they bring in the Alolan Sandslash again, lined up to my Altaria, which kind of sucks. But I just start throwing charge moves at him. I'm going to do all the damage I can to this thing. I already dodged that thing farming my Altaria, which is nice. On finishing up the match, I got the Empoleon, the Emperor of Doom, and oh look, a Heracross. See, these fighting type counters, they don't really mean a whole lot when they don't have shields, and then that Hydro Cannon comes in, knocking them out. At any rate, really good match from Dyna Marie 11. That Victory Bell and the Alolan Sandslash there, super threatening to my team. It's actually kind of funny because we talked before the tournament began. She was like trying to get some tips from me on how to beat her husband, and I was like, yo, use Victory Bell every time. It's crazy. And, well, first round, she uses against me every time, and I did not appreciate that Victory Bell. Yeah. So my next opponent is Wildmunk, and Wildmunk's team looks pretty free for mine overall. It's a pretty decent setup. However, none of these Pokemon can really beat Froslass. Venusaur and Whiscash, they can duel Froslass pretty well, but Froslass threatens this entire team. On top of that, nothing here really wants to deal with Altaria except for Poliwrath. So I feel like Altaria, a really free option, should use it in every single set. Just watch out for Poliwrath. Given that my main threats are Poliwrath and Venusaur, and this is the Empoleon meta, so I should never count out the Empoleon, I decide to go in with Altaria, Froslass, and Escavalier. And the fight begins. They catch my lead with the Poliwrath. So I decide to swap over to the Froslass here, because what the heck is a Poliwrath going to do to my Froslass? I decided to shield here because one of my friends uses Hydro Pump Poliwrath all the time, so I didn't want to get schooled here by Hydro Pump. I got the reveal that it is Dynamic Punch though, so no bad there. I can just take these moves. You can't get too friendly with the Dynamic Punches, but they don't hurt you that much. They end up taking me out though through the fast move damage, which kind of sucks. I got a little energy behind them. I have to deal with this thing now. So in comes my Escavalier, taking a Dynamic Punch right to the face. Ow. They bring in the Whiscash, and here we go, throwing the Mega Horn. They never shield the Mega Horn. Well, especially if they don't have shields to shield the Mega Horn. But yeah, this was before Mega Horn's buff. If Mega Horn was buffed here, Whiscash would definitely be down for the count, even harder than it was there. But no threat to me at all. The Poliwrath is out of the way. Altaria is here to just sweep this team. Now here, I did do a misplay. I didn't shield the Sky Attack. I was worried that the Whiscash was going to have enough energy to throw a Blizzard at me, so I was like, okay, I can tank this, and then the Blizzard, it's not even an option. What I should have done is shielded Noctowl's attacks, and then hoped to throw before the Whiscash could throw. If it came down to a CMP tie, I believe I have the higher attack stat, and that could have been a route to victory, but Wildmunk did take the first round. In response, I decided to switch the lead to Froslass, and then I swap out my Escavalier for the Empoleon. I felt Escavalier was a little bit weak in this particular fight, so you're back on the bench, and the Lord Empoleon is coming in. And we're starting out, and I catch the lead. What's up, Poliwrath? It's me, Froslass. You want to deal with this? I don't think so. I shielded Dynamic Punch because the fast move damage ended up getting me last time because I was soaking those up too easily, so I decided to take a little bit of the edge off of the Froslass. I got the bait with the Avalanche and was able to land the Shadow Ball, so Poliwrath is definitely hurting. And here I swap in the Altaria, hoping I could beat them down with fast move damage before they reach the next Ice Punch. Clearly did not play out that way. Ah well. So I got Altaria onto the Noctowl here. I know I can't go too much further after this, so I decide to eat it anyways, and then bring in the Emperor of Doom. What the heck is Noctowl going to do to me? Noctowl is going to do nothing. This is Empoleon, man, and this is why you run Altaria over the Noctowl. So Whiscash comes in, thinking it's a boss, but who's the real boss here? It's Empoleon. This was your meta, like, a couple weeks ago, but then Empoleon came in, and Empoleon cleaned up shop. So yeah, end game here, I just whip out the Avalanche, no shields, no skill from the Whiscash. I use Whiscash myself. Why am I dissing Whiscash? Now at this point, I feel like my opponent has realized that Poliwrath is like their only answer to my Altaria, and that their alignment is starting to become more anti-Altaria, right? So I decide to go with a surprise and lead with the Venusaur to secure the matchup. So we got Venusaur, Empoleon, and Froslass here. Basically, the idea is anything that can beat Venusaur, I can save swap Froslass into and just take that out. So no fear from the frog. The frog is the terror. And the fight begins, and look who's leading again. It is Poliwrath. It's me, Venusaur. Swaps out to the Noctowl. Noctowl has no game against Empoleon, though. Empoleon's like, what up? I'm so glad you're not an Altaria. People tell me that Noctowl is still good. And I'm like, nah, man. This is the Empoleon meta. You must abide to the Altaria. But here we are. So yeah, I mean, if it was an Altaria, then I would have swapped in Froslass, which is arguably worse than this, but hey. So yeah, Empoleon, I throw the Hydro Cannon. I'm not sure if I can reach the Flash Cannon in time, and then I swap to my own Venusaur, whipping out the Sludge Bomb. I believe he doesn't have any shields right now. Confirmed. Yeah, so Venusaur maintains that Venusaur supremacy. I whip out the Frenzy Plant for the game, and there it goes. I'd say one big lesson that we can learn from these past two fights is even if your opponent is kind of light on the Altaria counters, all they need to do is bring that one Altaria counter every single game, and Altaria is no longer all that free, so be wary. Next up we have Caveman, and Caveman is running two of the main predators to my team, Probopass and Heracross. Probopass is one Pokemon this team does not enjoy dealing with because until I know if it's a Spark or a Rock Throw Probopass, it's really hard for me to have a safe swap for that kind of team. And then Heracross there also making it hard for me to safe swap stuff in. So yeah, two Pokemon I don't like seeing, both on my opponent's team. On top of that, he's using Magneton. And I never thought about Magneton for this particular cup, so pretty spicy pick there. And if my troubles weren't already enough, he also has a Wigglytuff going on, so definitely a tricky team to plan against. Since nothing particularly scares Froslass on this team other than Probopass, I decided to bring in the Froslass, and leading with the Escavalier because he's got 3 pretty easy targets for Escavalier, and if Escavalier gets enough energy behind it, it can handle the other targets, which is pretty nice. And I also bring in the Venusaur, just in case things go south. Venusaur beats Wigglytuff, Whiscash, Probopass, Heracross. Venusaur is a pretty safe option here. And the fight begins. I end up catching the lead. It's Magneton, man. And I don't know how much Discharge does, but I decided to let it go through anyways. It can't possibly kill Escavalier, and it's Magna Bomb. I don't care. So I maintain my charge moves. I switch to the hard counter. They switch to the Wigglytuff. So I just start belting out my ice type attacks to hopefully, wear out them shields. I get at least 1 shield from the thing, and I bounce to my Venusaur, hoping to get a little bit of an energy lead to make the Noctowl a little bit more smooth here. Noctowl comes swagging in right with the charge move. I decide to stop it, and I hope to go for the Frenzy Plant Sludge Bomb. So I throw the Frenzy Plant, they shield it, and it looks like I wasn't going to reach it anyways, so rip to the Venusaur. And look here, I don't throw Mega Horn. I throw Aerial Ace, 2 Aerial Aces, and I get great on both of them and fail to kill the Noctowl. Now this is the pre-buff Mega Horn. It's the slightly weaker Mega Horn. But what I didn't know, because I didn't run the simulations already, but I was kind of thinking about it, Mega Horn probably has better base damage than Aerial Ace does, and that could probably help me secure the matchup against Noctowl. So I looked into it, and yeah, it would have won it. I would have reached the Mega Horn Aerial Ace, and I would have gotten excellent on Mega Horn, that's for sure, and it would have turned that tie into a victory. So that's where the battle cry came from on my Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, throw Mega Horn. Always throw Mega Horn. Whiscash doesn't want to deal with it. Noctowl doesn't want to deal with it. And they're going to soak it. They're going to take that hit. And it's going to be your best hit against them. So always throw Mega Horn. Especially now that I got the buff. Now you absolutely throw Mega Horn. Drill Run can go home. At any rate, let's get to round 2 of this fight here. Now, from the last matchup, I felt Venusaur kind of let me down, so I swapped to Empoleon, which was arguably the smarter choice to go with in the first place. Empoleon has a much better swap into the Noctowl, and then it lets me preserve my Froslass, which is of the good. So Venusaur, Empoleon, Froslass, let's go. Alright, and they end up catching the lead. Heracross on my Escavalier is terrible, so I swap in to the Froslass, and I start going for that Avalanche, and he's keeping in the Heracross. Now, I've never studied this matchup, because I'm like, yeah, I win because I'm a Ghost type, right? But, like, close combat does a lot of damage. I don't know how much damage that deals to me, so I looked it up after the fact, and it would have killed me, so I'm glad that I shielded it to take out the threat to my Escavalier there, and my Empoleon. Like, I don't want that thing being alive. Man, Heracross, kind of threatening. And then they finish up with the Noctowl. Now, I could have thrown the Mega Horn there, but instead of playing some games, I decided to throw in the Empoleon. You can see they whipped out a Night Slash. My opponent might not be aware, but the Night Slash is primarily for the Bronzong. Bronzong is weak to Dark-type attacks, that's why I use it there. The 2 attacks actually have the same base damage against Steel-type Pokemon, so if you're not getting the super effective in, then absolutely go with the Sky attack there. At any rate, that wouldn't have changed the matchup. Still had it in the bag. And then for the final match, I go with the same exact team. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Worked out. I had a little bit of a hole with the Venusaur. Patched it up with Empoleon. Let's get into it. And he ends up catching me again. Dude, this guy's good on the lead, I gotta tell you. But he brings in the Heracross against my little scary spooky ghost guy, Froslass there, which I think may have been a miss-switch or a mistake because they have the Magneton, and the Heracross clearly threatens my Escavalier as well, so maybe a little bit of a misplay on their part, but hey, misplays, we take those wins. So brings back in the Noctowl. I got the Empoleon of Doom, the main Pokemon, rubbing it in your face that this is the Empoleon meta, and Noctowl is just not Altaria. And so yeah, so Empoleon just dominates this particular matchup. They got no shields left. They take the waterfalls. I take the discharge. comes in, clean Escavalier, cleaning up the fight. So good battle from the Caveman. Definitely a spooky team to deal with the Heracross and the Probopass. I think I actually dodged Probopass all 3 games. He didn't bring it in. May have been a little bit of a detriment from my opponent there, but I don't know. Is it Spark? Is it Rock Throw? If it was Rock Throw, I could see why he'd maybe keep it back. But if it was Spark, I think he probably should have brought it in. I don't know. I can't play for my opponents here. All I can do is hope I beat him, right? Alright, let's get into the final match against the Camps, one of the Elite Four of the Fox Valley. So 2 big things that stand out to me on the Camps team is that they don't have an answer to Froslass. All of their Pokemon are pretty vulnerable to Froslass. Like Shiftry, okay, it's a dicey matchup, but if I use Froslass as a safe switch, I'm pretty sure I can dominate any Pokemon that he tries to bring in, guaranteeing me switch advantage. On top of that, the Camps only has 2 Pokemon that can reasonably deal with Venusaur, Altaria and Noctowl, both of which are weak to the Froslass. So if I run Venusaur and Froslass in every single set, I don't think I have anything to really worry about. And then on top of that, the one Pokemon that can deal with my Altaria super well is Poliwrath, and Froslass and Venusaur just shut that guy down. So a pretty open and shut case, lead Venusaur, back it up with Froslass as a safe switch, and then close out the match with Altaria. And starting out, I super catch the lead. Venusaur on the Swampert. So I'm anticipating a swap from him, but he actually stays in. So I decided to shield, anticipating an Earthquake or a Sludge Wave. Ultimately, I was able to full farm the thing down, so I throw out the Frenzy Plant for a bait. And this guy is not taking my bait. Come on, man. I threw 2 Frenzy Plants. One of those could have easily been a Sludge Bomb. I should have gotten a shield out of that. So he's up a shield. I'm up on switch advantage. I bring in the Altaria. Altaria can definitely soak 1 Sky Attack, so I take that on. And now I'm lined up against a Heracross, which is a done deal. I got Froslass in the back against a Heracross and a Noctowl, and I've got Altaria wailing on this poor Heracross. So definitely a done fight called from the lead. So I'm super confident in this set, so I decided to keep with the same team. I'm pretty sure this particular team can't deal with this particular lineup. So yeah, absolute domination. So we go in with the Venusaur against the Heracross. Like I told you guys, Venusaur can beat Heracross. Heracrosses don't expect it. I hit him with the Sludge Bomb, which puts me way ahead in this particular matchup, and I decide to soak the close combat. I throw another Frenzy Plant. He does not shield it. Come on, Noctowl. Camps, what gives? Why don't you take my bait? Like, come on. So yeah, I bring in the Altaria to the... I kind of spaced out there. But here's Froslass, and it's against the Poliwrath, which is good for me. He ends up using the Hydro Pump, which kind of surprised me a bit. I feel like my brain kind of went back to my last opponent, who he was using Dynamic Punch. But no, he had the Hydro Pump, and that's what happens when you get your Froslass Hydro Pumped. It's not good. But yeah, I got shield advantage with the Altaria on the Noctowl, so no hope for the Noctowl here. I was a little bit wary of the Sky Attack, maybe not doing the job if I got a Great. So I decided to charge up to the Dragon Pulse because I didn't want to flub it. But then it was also in KO range for the Great anyways, so whatever. That's why I went with that there. Now we get to the final match, and yeah, the tests have been confirmed. Venusaur OP. So leading in, he catches the lead with the Altaria. So I bring in my safe swap Froslass. This guy's got nothing to deal with Froslass. Bring in your Swampert. I got avalanches for days. You can't handle my avalanche, Swampert. Man, so I got this in the bag, tanking it on. I'm pretty sure I can tank a Hydro Cannon, no problem. Psych, I can't take Hydro Cannon, no problem. But I do have Venusaur and Altaria in the back, so I'm not very concerned at this point. He brings in the Poliwrath to bring the Wrath upon me, and I decide to let the Ice Punch go through. He's got no shields left, and I bring back in the Venusaur. Venusaur, up a shield, with Altaria in the back, up a shield. This guy can't touch me. Sludge Bomb is going to come in. No more Frenzy Plant baits. It's all Sludge Bomb now. I let him take me out. I bring in the Altaria to maintain the Altaria supremacy, fast move him down, and reach the Sky Attack for a open and shut case in this battle. And those are my battles. For those of you that are longtime subscribers of SwagTips, you already know I win out on every single tournament I go to, except for the ones that I wait. And because of that, it ends up hurting my ranking. ends up hurting my self-esteem a little bit. It makes me wonder why I'm waiting tournaments that I only like take one loss in. Come on, what gives, man? If I were to show my tournament record to somebody that was not familiar with the Silph Arena, they'd be like, oh, so the orange ones are the ones where you take losses, right? But no, those are the ones that actually count most to your rank. So I'm glad that I finally got a weighted win out in. And I hope to keep winning going into the Rose Cup next month. Speaking of the Rose Cup, I do have the desire to go to the Portland, Oregon Rose Cup Mega Tournament. If you want to see the Swag Man perform at that particular tournament, well, help me out, man. Plane tickets and hotel rooms cost money. So if you could donate to me at paypal.me/RyanSwag, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you got any questions on the Fusion Cup meta in general, comment below, let me know what's up. I'll be happy to help you out. And if you enjoyed this content, you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to the SwagTips.